Bonjour, bonjour, beautiful souls, mystical entrepreneurs. I have a question for you. Do you have faith in your life? Do you really, truly believe? We have such an amazing living soul with us today on the Rendezvous with Juju. Thank you for being here, all of you, because you will be inspired today. You will be inspired to take on action upon your faith. And we're going to uncover with this special guest, a beautiful friend of mine, an elevated soul, an enlightened soul. We'll discover what it takes to live and to walk in faith, not just in your life, but in every single thoughts and action in your business as well. We have a gentleman here who is incredible, successful entrepreneur. And a little bit about who's Chad Burmeister, believer, husband, father of 2 teenagers, author, entrepreneur, CEO, creator of and lifelong rebel. I love that. I truly enjoy helping other people unpack their story. That's from Chad. I repeat that. I truly enjoy helping other people unpack their story, unlock their potential, and unleash their story. Welcome, Chad Burmeister, the CEO of Scalex.ai. My friend, you are with us today. Many blessings.
Good to be here.
Blessing. Yes.
I feel like I'm in Arizona right now. I can feel the heat.
Well, that's because you are hot, my friend. Everywhere you go, you are a display of ray of sunshine. And I tell you, it doesn't matter if it rains or if it pours or if it's snow or whatever, you are such a blessing for everyone you touch and meet. And you and I met. Let's share a little bit how we met. About, well, in the human life timing kind of thing was, I think 2 years ago.
Yeah. Time flies. And since then, we've done wine tasting events online. You've met a lot of my friends. I've worked with your husband on a marketing couple of projects. And it's been awesome. The way we met is pretty cool because there was a room of about 30 people, and it was in Jeff Hazlett's downstairs of his high-rise apartment that he lived in.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a cool fireplace, cool room, and it was my day to present in front of a group of these 30 business people that I really didn't know very well.
Wow.
And I've presented in front of people before, but this is Hazlett and E-Rock, and these are some, movers and shakers in the business world. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of sitting in the back of the fireplace preparing my remarks, and I went through and I talked about the nerves that an entrepreneur has when it comes to financial, right? Cash flow. Yep. And I remember going through it, and there was a point where Juju finally, at the end of this, everybody goes around and they all talked, and there were 5 people. Well, here's what you need to do. No, here's what you need to do. And then Juju stands up and goes, okay, hang on, Chad. Here it is. Right now, at this place in time, you need to decide if you're going to walk through this circle or not. You need to leave behind your sales rep attitude and beliefs, and you need to move forward and become a CEO. And you clapped. And I felt like this magnet being pulled forward. And I was like, okay, there's the hole. I walked through it and I looked back and I was like, yep, that's gone. That's behind me. And now I'm the new person. And ever since, I've really acted like a CEO. So that's how it all began.
Chad, you're so humble. Come on. You guys don't understand. Like, this person that is here with me today is like an incredible source of wisdom in business. I mean, you're tremendously successful. You have been for many years. You have helped hundreds to be where they're at. So brother, come on, you didn't need me to become a CEO, okay? I was just there to remind you of the things that you already are. That's
Well,
it.
sometimes you need the kick in the pants
Well, we all do.
for that reminder. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
appreciate the hole in the universe that you opened up that day.
It's my pleasure. I'm just glad I didn't scare you away because, oh my gosh.
I'm glad the hole didn't close faster than I could walk through it. That's for sure.
I always have my sword with me, it's invisible. I see it, and it goes like, but you
remember what was neat about that day is that there's these 30, 40, maybe even 50 entrepreneurs. And at the end of it, Holly from here in Denver, who talks about mindset, she stood up and she said, hey, is this okay? It feels to me like I need to do a prayer for everyone. And it was like, yeah, let's do it. And so she prayed. And that was kind of, if you think about this was pre-COVID. Yeah. And so usually people don't bring prayer into their businesses. There's a handful that have. There's organizations who've done that. C12, I think, is one. There's a couple. But they have like 2,000 members. It's not like it's blown up to millions of people yet. Right. And so, but with COVID, with the change where now everybody works from their home office, right? I'm in a home office right now. Hey, this is you're in my house and I'm in your house. Yep. Well, now I get to speak my truth and be who I am, where if it's your office and it's in your four walls, then, hey, maybe I have to walk on eggshells a little bit. Guess what? Welcome to the new world. The new world says it's okay to bring the line together. Your business and your faith are one. It's all part of the same package.
So how, in a time in your life where you perhaps made that choice, or you uncover what was meant for you at the soul level, your purpose here on this earth, your service to others, in your business, in your life, how did that transpire? Because you must have had an event, you must have had something, most people who are elevated as you are, enlightened, they had a major divine, event that happened. Is something that happened to you that was so profound that cracked the code of really what really faith is? And share what for you, what it is to be having faith in your life. So there's
three pieces of it. Yes. Piece number one is, before I was married, I was dating my wife for 4 years. Okay. And in those 4 years, we never said, I love you. Like, we dated and we went to the movies and it was really amazing relationship, but we never said that. And then I was in Arizona at Lake Cavasy, and I had a rental car and I was driving to pick up a pontoon boat for the day, and I got head-on collided with, and I was in a convertible Chrysler Sebring Classic, and I had two people in the car. Well, my friend got ejected from the front seat of the car and lived, and another friend was in the back seat. And I get out of the car and I walk up to him, and he wasn't moving. His shoe was off, and I thought he was a goner. And so I looked at him on the side of the road and I said, Brian, are you okay? Are you okay? And he finally wakes up and he goes, dude, how's my face? And that's how Brian is, because him and I were like two peas in a pod, right? We would care about our precious little faces. That's right. And so then he asked me the same question again, where am I? What happened? And he was just blank. Okay. So they air vac him out to Phoenix to go to a hospital. Well, on his way, when I called him later that night, he goes, hey, Chad, who was the person holding my hand in the back of the helicopter? And apparently there was no person there. So he had an angel that was holding his hand in the back of the helicopter. And I've seen angels before, but he never had at this point in his life. His mom's as religious as my mom, has the connection to God as they're both of my mother and his mother are. And so he was like, Chad, what do I do? How do I get this angel out of because then it was in his room every night. And so I was like, that's awesome. You should talk to the angel, like interact, because it's okay. He's like, no, I don't know about all this. So he put a Bible on his dresser, and then it moved away after a month or something. But I was like, no, that's cool. I actually saw the night my son was having, or the night we were having my son, he was 3 weeks early. And I woke up in the middle of the night. This was October 17th, 2001. And I woke up and I looked at this angel in a gown, in a white gown. And I just stood there for like 5 minutes, sitting in my bed in Tustin, California. And I stared and stared. And I was like, I'm pretty sure it was my wife's mother because I never met her. And then, and this is 3 weeks before the due date. And so I'm sitting there staring at this angel. An hour later, I wake up and we go to the hospital, and because her water broke, right? And so we had the baby that night. And so that was an interesting kind of point number two. So that caused me to kind of open up to the world. I have a bolt that I found on the side of the road that's steel and metal, and it's bent. And it reminds me, I have it on when I wake up in the morning and I look in the mirror and I brush my hair, it's there because it reminds me that life is fragile and that it can be bent. The metal can be bent, right? And I've given the counter pieces out to about 4 people. Jordan Dufort has one of those counter pieces. Robert White, who's coming to my house tonight, has a counter piece. Rich Blakeman has one of the pieces. The vision is I've scattered the pieces so that they can come back together when we accomplish the goal of creating what God has in mind for us to create.
Wow. Let me just suck that in because you're transmitting. Do you even realize that you're such a powerful transmitter? That I don't think, and I don't want, and I'm not saying, so let's talk in a way where we are speaking to each other's higher selves. And when I say something, it's not coming from the head space. When you say something, it's not coming from the head space. I know it because your frequency of your voice is such an alignment with this core vibration of love, compassion, Christ consciousness. I get goosebumps each time I talk to you. I mean, we have conversations on the phone, just you and I, when I'm in my kitchen and you're probably in your kitchen. But it's like, it is so empowering to have people like yourself in our lives. So if you're watching this, you need to understand this about Chad. Like, if you feel like you're telling yourself, okay, I'm an entrepreneur and there's something that's missing, I'm not sure what it is, don't overthink it and take action upon that, which is your own innate gift, your intuition, and connect with Chad. Because even if he's the one who's going to help you, he's going to guide you to where you need to go. And
well, let me share with you. So the next thing that happened is I went to a conference called the Litvin Intensive, and the guy's name is Rich Litvin, and he coaches people at $100,000 a year price points. So he has major celebrities, and he was a school teacher before he discovered that he has this power to help people unlock what's going on. And so I saw him I got a golden ticket, right? Which means I got invited by another person and I didn't have to pay. And that was nice. And it actually changed the trajectory of my life because what it did is I saw 150 of these life coaches go through an experience where he would pull up his mic and he would say, "How would you like to be coached by me?" And it was like, oh. And then the person would be like, "Well, I'm new to coaching." And he'd go, "Okay, time out, pause." And he'd actually have a fake remote control TV and he goes, "Pause." And then he would give permission to talk behind the person's back in front of an audience of 150 people without making that first person feel uncomfortable. So he goes, "Okay, this person is a major head of the United Nations. She has not only coached people, but she has coached presidents of entire countries and transferred billions, maybe even, hang on. Is it $1 trillion or more? Yeah, trillions of dollars or more. Okay. And she's like, yeah, trillions. And so okay, unpause. So you were telling me you've never coached anyone. And she was like, well, yeah, I mean, presidents of countries, but, not like a normal kind of coaching. So here's a person who's one of the most powerful people in the world, and she's in a shell of a smaller, body, and yet she isn't in connection and understanding that she has that level of power.
Right.
So that's one example. I saw dozens of people get up and go through this exercise. So here's what I want to take your audience through today. It's the simple exercise that I've now done hundreds of times with people. The way to crack the code. So maybe we could actually try this. You'll be the victim.
Yes.
So Juju, tell me about kind of your like college days or that time of your life, 18, 19, 20. What were you like passionate about then? Can you remember those days?
So I remember it so well because I was so passionate that I actually couldn't go to school. My passion was more important than the learning from the desire of learning from the stuff from the school, the headspace. I could never go to school. In fact, I never went to school. So that was hopefully an answer that I didn't really know that I didn't want to. I just was not wired to go to school because there's something within me that I already had a knowing, if you will, which I knew that the learning from school would interfere with my mission. So I didn't even have to understand anything. I went right in to this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and this is what I'm at. So there was no understanding.
Yeah, I can get that because you were smart enough to know that the school, by ingesting what they would feed you, you would be getting sick. It would not be doing you service. And you knew that because you'd already done elementary school and you kind of sensed it. So you said, I don't need the poison that you're going to give me. I'm going to stay in my lane. Okay, so now let's go to when you were really young. First memories, right? This is where the magic happens because I'm trying to draw a line between now, then, boom, you're 6, 5. It's your first kind of thinking moments, right? Most people don't remember something till they're about 5 or 6. When you woke up in the morning and you were passionate about walking outside and doing something, like what was that fire in the belly? What was the passion that you really thought about when you were 5 and 6?
So wait. All right. So you see this, everyone? This is my little tiny guitar that I picked up when I was 5 years old. See how little it is? Because my hands were so tiny. In fact, my hands are still tiny. But this is my guitar from when I was 5, and I carry that along with me as a reminder to never let go of your dreams.
The song that's coming to my mind is Robert White's coming tonight, and he was John Denver's close friend.
Yes.
And so there's a song, This Old Guitar.
That's right.
This old guitar taught me to love a lady. It's so important.
Yep.
And then he lost it. He was actually at a live concert and he's talking in his, way that he did. Mm-hmm. And these girls are like, yay, right on. And they're talking 70s talk. And then he goes, I lost this guitar for about 5 years. And so when it came back to me and it finally landed back in my arms, I wrote this song. So I'm going to play it for you tonight. It's the first time I've ever played it live. And then it's This Old Guitar, and it's like he's so connected. Oh. So here's the thing that your listeners need to understand is that most people are living the life right now that they probably should be because they're just where they are, right? The river took them down the path. There's some people who are maybe just 1 degree off, or maybe they're living the right life, but they don't know that they are. Here's the litmus test. If you can go back to when you're 5 and 6 and go, what did I think about before the world put filters on me, right? The world's going to give you all kinds of different things. Your parents, your teachers, your pastors, everybody brings their own baggage and their impact and influence on your life. When you go back to that age and you can connect with it and truly understand. Okay, so let me tell you a story of day 4 after the Litvin event.
Yes.
So I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I hadn't stood up and given my speech. And so, and you don't have to, right? It's if you're called on or whatever, maybe 50 of the 150 actually did it. But I wrote it out on 4 pages. And I cried and I kind of came to terms with my own story in that moment at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I actually could hear in the middle of the night, I'm a salesperson by birth. And I could hear one of those famous, I'm blanking on his name right now, one of those famous motivational speakers that he spoke to me. And I wrote it all down right in the middle of the night, typed it up. And then I realized that I had this story that I told myself that I wrote this in the notes a little bit here ahead of the meeting, that I had a story that my dad didn't love me because he didn't come to my soccer games and my swim meets as much as my mother did because he was a doctor. And so he worked on weekends and he was on call. And so that was no fault of his own. It was just work. And as a result of his work, I had a pretty good life. I was able to buy a lacrosse stick and go to school and have a nice TV and live in a nice house. So, but I had to face that. It's almost like in Star Wars where Luke goes into the cave and he had to face that, right? And so I'm writing it and I'm just like, so what did I do as a result? Well, in high school, I got a mohawk. I shaved here and I spiked up my hair to 1.5 feet tall, right? And that's how I became a rebel. And I had a nose ring and I had 3 earrings and I lived in a really nice neighborhood, but I was like, nope, I need you to see me, And so then I went to this rock concert and I was kicked out on the pavement and I was laying in a puddle of vomit on the pavement, right? This is being real. And my dad pulls up in the brown Ford Bronco, and he's looking at me. And he probably thought like I thought when Brian didn't make it from that car accident I told you about.
Yep.
And so Dad comes up and he probably thinks, Chad might not make it through this, whatever this is, right? And then I moved, and then he teared up. And at that moment I realized, he loves me, right? And so that was just super important. So I shared that with him. He never knew that. And that was my problem. I never shared that with them. And so when you hold your stories in and you create story on top of a story, then you're just making stuff up. Like, have the conversation, understand it. I've heard you say sometimes, hey, people don't need to meditate. They just need to be in the moment. And where I would challenge you a little bit there is that most people don't have your ability to snap and understand and see everything going on.
Correct.
And so they require the conscious uncompetence first, recognize that there's other things going on in the world.
That's right.
Then they need to move to conscious competence. Oh, I'm thinking about why my dad didn't come to my games because he was busy. Yep. And then you move into unconscious competence and you go, Dad actually traveled the country, came to every single house that I ever bought, built the workbench, was there for every birth of my kids. Like, he's done everything. He was there for my MBA program. And so now not everybody has that luxury, that it was just a lie, a story you told yourself. Sometimes it really is bad and you have a dad that's abusive or whatever. So now here's the next level of connector. You need to realize that you have another dad because somebody else created you. You're not just here by chance. You are created with a purpose. And so the connection to your divine Father, no matter what's going on in your life, if you can remember that you've got this creator of yours, he cares about you no matter what. And so guess what? It turns out my dad did demonstrate that, and I'm so lucky that he did. But your creator gave you that. Like, he made you. You're perfect. There's nothing wrong with you. You're perfect. If you can breathe and you can see, you can feel, you can touch, you can taste, like, that's not an accident. I remember there's an atheist once that said, if you threw up a box of toothpicks that has 1 million toothpicks in it, the odds of a person actually being able to live, breathe, and talk would be like standing all 1 million toothpicks on top of each other. Let's be real. This stuff doesn't just snap and automatically appear. We're not just particles of dust that came together. We were created.
Oh,
yeah.
Chad, I just love you. I love everything that you're about. Like, again, this transmission, it is the truth. And it's tough because there's a lot of us out there that are fighting that, which is the inner me, which is the enemy, and it's like they want to see it to believe it, right? What do you say to those people? It's like, well, I will believe it when I see it. When it happens to me, when it happens to me in my life, then I'll believe it.
So at the end, after I did the discovery, I'm smiling ear to ear. And it's 7 o'clock in the morning after I woke up at 4 and I went to the event. I'm sitting out. I'm like, I'm done. There's a half day left, but I got what I needed. Well, this other guy sits next to me. He goes, you mind if I sit next to you? Pre-COVID. And he goes, I said, yeah, sure, go ahead. And I said, did you get what you're looking for? And he goes, not quite. I said, oh, okay, tell me more. What were you looking for? He goes, well, you see, I was a police officer for the last 20 years. And I'm about done with that, and I want to go into coaching. So I thought I would come here and learn how to be a coach. I want to write a book. I've got all these aspirations and goals. I was like, okay, tell me more. And then I took him through the exercise. Tell me about this age. Now tell me about when you were 5. And he said, when I was 5 and 6, I had an abusive dad. He actually physically and mentally abused me. He was an alcoholic. And so the police would come, and they were my angels. And so when my angels showed up and they protected me and had a conversation with me and shared, some of them actually shared about God and Jesus, and he's like, it was amazing. And so that's why I became a police officer. So for 20 years I've been doing that. So I'm kind of peeling back the onion. So then after about 10 minutes of this, I said, so here's what I heard. And I used his name, which I don't. He's from Arizona, and he was a police officer in Arizona, funny enough. And I said, so here's what I heard. At a very young age, you were abused physically, emotionally. And then for the first handful of your life, the police would come and they were your angels. So for 20 years, you became an angel for other kids. And that was the favorite part of your job. In the past couple of months, you decided that it was time to put your badge on the desk, trade that in, so that you could spend more time with more children, because that's what your passion in life is to be an angel for children and then not do the rest of the duties that you were doing as a police officer. Wow. And so you're writing a book because you're an authority in this area, you're an expert, and that's why people want to. And he just broke down in tears. Wow. And then we went to the rest of the event. Afterwards he came up and he's like, can I give you a hug? And I was like, yeah, man, sure, bro, whatever. And it was like that 12 minutes of time is all it takes to unpack, understand, unleash. You've got it. I mean, it's all sitting inside of you, but it helps to go through that exercise.
Thank you for sharing this, because you put it such in perspective into embellish it into really a true, real story with a real person that you had that experience with, so people can realize and see the importance of what it is that you do. Now, do you do this aspect of coaching, if you will, bring forth you step into your own power of authority, discover your purpose kind of thing with what you do in your business? Can you share about how do you do that in your business? Is this how you really create your business around that mission?
So the business, how do I put it? I always have been competitive, and I knew that even at a young age. Rope climb, I would win every time and held the record for years after I even did that. And then, so I knew sales was the thing for me. But you had to push yourself out of the comfort zone, because I wasn't always extroverted, meet with people in person. I was nervous and embarrassed a little bit. So I had to punch through that for 20 years, 30 years. And
Wow.
as I got better and better at it, it was, even though it was out of the comfort zone, it became one of my strong points of helping people distribute their message. So email, social media outreach, building a website, just basic selling 101, but I'm better at it than most everybody else because I can accelerate the ability for people to go to market 10 times, 20 times, 50 times more touches than most could do. And so now that I've got that lane of discovery of speeding things up, and then I combine that with the power of what I discovered with the Rich Litvin event, I was like, you know what? That's what we need in this world is first let me unlock your superpower. What is your thing that just you're happiest about? And how do you stay in that lane? And then how do we combine that with the fast forwarding of the tape using artificial intelligence and automation? Right now you go faster to market to get the message out. And that's what we do. We help people figure out their story and then go attack the world with.
Wow, that's incredible. So that's what ScaleX.ai is all about.
Yeah, right. Here's an example. Arizona, there's a lady named Jessica De La Cruz. Okay. She came to our first inaugural Living a Better Story retreat. Okay. So Living a Better Story is all about, here's my old one, here's what I recognized, and now I'm, it's AD, right? It's like before and after.
Sure.
And, oh, wow, now that I'm awake, I understand what I should be doing. So she comes to Living a Better Story, and she was invited by Deb Brown-Maher, who wrote a book called Sell Like Jesus, which is a pretty cool book, actually. And she's a principal at Ombudsman. Ombudsman has 240 kids that were asked to leave their current high school. So, hey, Juju, great to have you here. You can't do what you did. You got to go somewhere else. Right. And so she's their last line of defense. Remember, I had a mohawk. In fact, at one point, I almost was asked to go to military school. And a teacher averted that crisis. Said, hey, Jan Glenn, Chad's a pretty neat guy underneath it all. I see him in class. He gets mostly all A's, if not all, maybe one B. I think one time I got a C just to piss off my parents.
That's awesome.
And so when I met her, I was like, wow, what an amazing woman who uses her gifts to help these kids who might not otherwise make it and graduates them and everything. Well, then Robert White says, I've been asked by God right now to retire your student debt. And she started crying. She was like, what? Are you serious? So later that day I said, so how much, Robert, how much is the student debt? And he said, it's $150,000. And I was like,
holy moly.
Okay. God, I want to help here. I better think bigger. So I was like, I've been praying about it a lot. Like, God, what do we do? I need your help here. I can't do this alone. Yep. Well, remember what I just said is take the story, accelerate it. Okay. So on Monday of this week, I've got this LinkedIn outreach program and I have 18,000 first connections. So I said, hey, and it says, hey, Juju, right on LinkedIn. Really appreciate if you have a minute to check this out. This is Jessica De La Cruz. I've written up her entire story and, please, would you give me a minute and read it and then go to the GoFundMe page? And guess what? Up until now, we've raised $4,500 up until Monday. And it was like at a plateau because I was 1,000 of it and someone else was 500 and then it went to 250 and then it went down. These are people who are giving whatever they can. I turned this on Monday. It now has $6,700. So every single day, we're raising $300 to $400. So I'm going to come to Arizona June 10th through the 13th, and I'm going to print out one of those big checks that they do, and I'm going to say, okay. And it's because when we talked about faith, how do you have faith? It's because I have faith that if that's what's meant to be, then that's what will be. It's just as simple as that. It's if you think about when you play a video game, And it's like you have another life and another life after that. And if you go into a room and you get, Legend of Zelda or something, and there's a gem, or you watch The Matrix and you say, give me the download of how to fly the helicopter. Time is just an imaginary thing. And so if I had all the time in the world, I could program myself to go beat Tiger Woods in a round of golf. I've used that story, and I know I'm going all over the place here, but this is fun.
It's okay. Don't just be...
I told Arjun Sen, our friend, that story, and I go, yeah, I've always believed that you could beat Tiger Woods if you really wanted to. And he goes, funny, Chad, I actually did one day.
Huh?
And I was like, wait a minute. I've always told this story because I have faith that if I wanted to, I could. He goes, yeah, now, I didn't beat him at Augusta. And Tiger goes, yeah. And he signs the card. Whenever someone beats him, Tiger signs it and hands it over to him and says, yeah, here, I admit it. You beat me. Now, you won't make the tour. You caught me on my worst day of golf, and this was probably your best day in the history of your playing golf. You won't make the tour. Like, you're never, but you did beat me. And that's what I've always said. I couldn't beat him. Well, I can't say couldn't. If I wanted to go make the golf tour and beat him at Augusta, that'd be freaking hard. But you have to believe. The belief is the most important thing in your life. Belief.
It's the wisdom is so powerful. It's those words that hit me each time. You said you speak for a period of time, and it's just like it's such a beautiful flow. And then you arrive in that one word that is just that truth. And you're just one of those beings that just speaks from that place of consciousness, and you speak, and then you're unlocking things, in people. You're unlocking their doubt, the doubt of faith. Like you say, believe, and I know how strong that is when you said that, because you built your entire destiny, your marks, your grids, your foundation in your life. It's on that place, of belief. And I know we just have maybe 5 more minutes, if that's okay. Or I just want you to share, like, is there like time where of course there's going to be time where you are still going to be tested. Do you feel that the more you are anchored in this state of consciousness that is, call it, to me, it feels like it's the vibration of divine Christ consciousness. It's this frequency.
There was, so the last story I'll share with you is that my son experienced some bad burns from a grease fire on February 17th of this year. Yeah. So he's cooking his meal, he throws in the breadcrumbs, poof, catches on fire, 12 inches high. And what does the boy do that's 19? He puts it under the sink. Poof. So it just fireball, So face, hands, all of it. And all you can do in those moments is have faith and say, okay, like, there's shock. You go through, just like someone passes away, you go through those stages, yes. Right? It's just your human psyche does that. Yes. And so I've been through enough of those where you go, all right, first I'm in denial because it's like, huh? And then my wife gets in the car and goes, and I'm with my niece and nephew, and I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta go too. This is terrible. And so you go through that, and then you see him, and it's like, okay, he's going to get through this. And then for 5 days, it gets worse. It blows up, and the hand, and it's peeling. They have to scrape it off every single day, the whole layer of skin, right? So you get to day 7 or 8 or 9, and they say, okay, we're going to have to do a skin graft. We're like, this is, and then, but his face is now getting smaller. It's getting better. And I'm like, okay, we got day before surgery. The nose has a ring around it. It looks like it's just, the tip's going to fall off. And under the eyes is bad. And so when you said you have to see it, like my parent. This is the Bible that my parents actually read to me when I was a kid. And it turns out, I didn't realize this till my mom gave it back to me, to Jan from grandmother. So it was actually from, hang on the other side of this slide, from grandmother. And so it's written by we have a Russian grandmother somewhere in the family, and German and all kinds of different families. So this was the Bible that we read with these, and it was picture book. It was awesome, right? So I have this firm belief, but I've never been tested. And all you can do is believe the stories. For these are 2,000-year-old stories, but guess what? Someone wrote them, and they were as close to it as I was to my son's situation. So picture this: the day before the surgery, I come home and I just broke down, and I was like, God, and I kneeled down by the bed and I said, listen, I've never asked for a miracle. Never, not once. And I would never ask for a miracle for me. But could you give a miracle to my son? Because he's 19, he needs it. And what I ask is that you give the miracle that can only be described as a miracle. And I was like, and so I was trying not to test God, but at the same time I was like, I just really need this favor. And so my mom apparently that night prayed all night too. So we go in the next day, and it was kind of comic when we got there. He's like, we get him to the surgery. He's in his gown and everything. And he goes, I have to pee. We're like, okay, Brendan, you can go. And they're like, really? You were like ready to roll, And so they wrap him up, and a week goes by, and you're like, okay, God, please, please, please. And just like in the movies, or just like you would read in the Bible, when they ask a dead person to rise, or when anything you can imagine that's like the craziest thing you've ever heard, they unveil this thing, and we're just like, okay, what's going to happen? And the nose piece stayed on for an extra 2 or 3 days. And then finally they took that off. And I'm like, wait a minute, let me touch that. Is that the same nose I saw a week ago? And it was like, there's no other, I asked. Anything except could be described as a miracle. And that's what happened. We had a lot of people praying for Brendan, United Airlines pilots, flight attendants, because we just really put the word out. And so it helps me connect. If now I saw that, now you have to go back 2,000 years and go, you know what? Other people wrote about this. They're not full of crud. They actually wrote those things in the state of time that they were in, and they faced the same levels of trials and tribulations we face now. Wow. There's only a scale of 1 to 10. Here's another cool one. When he got burned, he goes, first of all, I'm glad it happened to me. Wow. We're like, what do you mean? He goes, because it doesn't have to happen to anyone else now in our whole family. They're all going to hear about it. Okay, that's pretty profound statement. And second of all, Dad, what on a scale of 1 to 10, they keep asking me how bad my pain is for the meds. And he goes, I don't know what to compare it to. What's a 10? So he'd be like, I don't know, a 2? They're like, okay, then you don't get any pain meds. He's like, wait, then it's a freaking 8 because I'm in a lot of pain. But if there's only a scale of 1 to 10 in life, think back to when they were living in 2,000 years ago. Maybe there's Roman warriors and people are dying and getting killed in streets and stupid stuff. And we look at the world we're in today and we're like, oh, but it's so scary, and the left and the right and all this stupid stuff. And you go, you know what? Go above it, rise above it, look down and realize that it's the same stuff they dealt with then. And you just have to have faith that it's all going to be okay.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing this. Isn't this a time, we call it this, age of Aquarius, age of enlightenment, if you will. The opportunity for all of us as a unit to get back to that core value. Isn't it like we are being tested, the COVID, this duality, the duality, in politics and the economy? Isn't this right in the front of us to say what?
Yeah. Right. And diversity inclusion is another one that's like, yeah, you know what? Let's take off the political blinders And let's look at it from a point of view of what would Jesus do. And you have to look at it from the perspective of truth. People say truth is made up to you, the individual. And I say, okay, you may have a perspective of up versus down and left versus right, but there is a universal truth.
Correct.
And it was written about in here and in the Quran and other people's view of the truth. But the truth is the truth. And I think that's what we need to come back to in society is, right, like every company's going to need a new CEO. And it's called a chief ethics officer, because when AI gets put in, they're going to need a counterpart to make sure that the ethics are followed properly.
Wow. So where in your expertise in business and the things that you put together, the technology, the AI, do you see a really like a big event? I feel like there is something about to really crash when this technology is going to come over and it's going to take over. So what you just said, do you feel like we're at that time where the technology is going to take over, and what will it take for us to be who we are and keep those values, those sacred values?
Think about the time when people have said, if I could solve world hunger, like that'd be an aspirational goal. And the level of productivity in America right now with the advent of AI, and it's been around 25, 30 years, but we didn't have phones and high-speed internet. Productivity is going like this. The need for headcount's going like this, slower pace. Okay. So one person now can do the work of 10, 20. And so I remember I heard Bill Clinton speak one time, and he said 5% increase in productivity meant massive gains for the economy. And that was around the advent of the internet. And that was huge. AI, I believe, makes that curve go up so high that this whole concept of universal basic income, which is in my family would be looked at as, what do you mean? That's, we're conservatives. We can't think about those kinds of things. But if you look at it through God's eyes and Jesus' eyes, hey, we want to solve world hunger here. We're not about, so I think that's actually where things could go if driven properly with a co-CEO, chief ethics officer, who speaks from the Bible, not from the mind, and says, how do we implement this so that we still, capitalism still is an okay thing, because it causes people to want to, work hard and the American dream and all that. But so I'm not making a statement that everyone should be equal. Don't mistake my words.
That's right.
But we can probably, because now the productivity levels, I think if done right, there's a way to make sure that God's children are served properly.
That's amazing.
That's what I think. But it's an interesting tug of war until we get to that place.
Yeah, but it's what's happening, I feel, too. This crack that is, this gap that is actually becoming wider and wider, but in fact is for the highest good. That's what I'm seeing. That's why I never really fear anything or fear situations or see things on TV. I don't really fear that. I just know that it is for the highest good. And that we are on the path that is the higher path, and we are experiencing I truly feel it, in my being, that we're experiencing our evolution, our own human evolution, which is ascension to God. This is where we at. We're that edge. This is what I'm feeling.
Let me leave one concept with your listeners. There's an app. I'm going to build an app, but until it gets built, there's an app called Good Habits. And it's on an iPhone. I assume it's probably on another app, Google, whatever. Good Habits. And I think it's free. And it lets you put in what are the habits that you want to follow. Now, when I prescribe the habits, it's going to be, first thing when you wake up, a simple prayer, right? Like, God, make this day what you want it to be for me. It could be as simple as that.
Yes.
Then for me, it's workout is next. But then follow follow and act according to that, then read a verse in the Bible. It doesn't have to be pages or chapters, just a verse, and randomly flip to one, because guess what? The odds are good that it'll line up with what you're thinking about, you know? Oh, wow, I needed that today, right? And then so you've read the Bible, then pray at night. But the key is to listen, right? You're asking, you can tune into the frequency. God, what is it my prayer at night is, your will be done. Simple. Like, God, okay, your will be done. I don't ask for, hey, I need more food, I'm a little stressed at work. You can do that if you want to. I just say, where am I supposed to be? And so I booked a trip in June to Atlanta to be on God Made Millionaire show. I got asked to be on there. And and I called the trip God's business. Wow. It's not mine. I'm just exercising God's business.
You're just downloading. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. So this will be your app? You're building an app? It's
ultimately, I believe I cracked the code on the name. Well House is probably the name of the app when I roll it out, because my son and I came across this well house at the foot of the mountains. And people used to drive their cars up, and the radiator would go bad.
I finally saw it. You sent me the picture. It was amazing.
Yeah, so I've got a designer working on the logo, and it'll probably be called Well House, because you come to the well house, and when your radiator goes out, it leaks. You know, you need that. So this is a place to recharge. You just follow the directions, pray, because every human has 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day.
Yes.
Most people, 60,000 are negative. So again, go above yourself, look down and go, that guy has 60,000 negative thoughts a day, and most other people around him do. How does he change those thoughts into something else? Wow. Oh, he has this little app, pray, read the Bible for a verse. And hey, guess what? There's more things you could do. If you want to own 70,000 of 80,000 thoughts, well, then add a workout in the middle of the day for 30 minutes. That'll get your mind off those negative thoughts in a real hurry.
That is incredible. You know what I love most about this, Chad? First of all, you created it, number one. Number two, it's so, well, I don't have to apologize for what I'm saying. It's my show. So it's so freaking simple, you know, and it's like the simplicity that amplify the nature of the essence of the truth within itself, that everyone can apply. Doesn't matter who you are, what color you are, where you come from, what language you speak, you can apply that.
Everyone has the connection. All you have to do is ask.
Believable.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, in our DNA, there's two languages, right? There is the Sanskrit, and then there's Christ language. And I learned that from, Greg Braden. Our DNA words, in our DNA, all of us have what? I am God. It's written within the DNA, you know, and it's like,
right, inside of you, right? It's you're powerful wired. Because
yes.
Yeah. Well, and then I saw this great one I posted on Facebook last week, and it shows a picture of a kitty and then a picture of a lion. And it says, me after I pray. That's roar. And so I posted, of course, meow.
Meow. Well, I mean, you know, it hurts the ego. It's like this big, tough business guy, you know, oh, God forbid, he doesn't want to think of himself as this vulnerable being that surrenders and connects to that place of God, and you know, that connection. But this is the time to wake up to that being that we are the compassionate ones. We are here to create heaven on earth. It's exactly what we're doing. You know, even in those conversations are very powerful. Tell us about the event that's coming up, and how can we invite those that are anywhere at all that could be there, and then in Arizona as well. So if you're watching this, you're in Arizona, pay attention for the next few seconds.
June 10th through June 13th, we're going to be in Arizona. We are getting an Airbnb. We've got our eyes on a couple so far, and we have Robert White coming, who has graduated 1.3 million people from his mindset courses. So his job is to come in and help you uncover, just like we did this small exercise for 5 minutes today. Imagine 2 or 3 days of that.
Wow.
And so he unpacks it, he defragments the hard drive. Now you're defragmented. Okay, what's possible next? How do you live in the moment? How do you go next? Well, then Arjun comes in, and Arjun Sen works with fabulous people with branding. So now that you've understood and unpacked, then Arjun comes over the top and says, let me show you some things about branding. You, Juju, are one of one in something. And he helps you get under the hood to say, what is it that you're one of one at? Right? Like a snowflake, like a piece of sand on the beach. We're all one of one at something. What is that? And then boom, now that you've got it, now you go out to the world. And then that's where a lot of people afterwards call me and say, hey, Chad, this AI thing for reaching out, now that I know my one of one, can you help? Yeah. And I set them up with a virtual admin to reach out. I got Daryl on 2 TV shows. One's national that's coming on this afternoon. And it's because he came to the event, we helped him unpack, and he didn't need much help. He's already helping other people do it. But then we get him on a TV show. So 3 days, 10th through the 13th, myself, Arjun, Juju's going to make a few guest appearances and bring the guitar from when she was 5 to play some amazing tunes. And it's just, I think of it like a fire pit. I've got one in my backyard. That's how it started COVID. It started with me and one person. Then it went to me and 2, me and 3, me and 5, me and 12. And then that's what we had at the Living a Better Story, Utah, about 2 months ago. And now this is Rev 2.0. So I'd love to have you there. It's very affordable. If you have a challenge with affording it, let me know. Like, we'll figure something out. We want you there. If you feel drawn to be there, then you have to be there. Like, follow God's command for your life, and life will change as a result of it.
Yeah, and I think you made it small enough so it has this impact. And the group that comes, it's interesting because when we do events, gatherings, and they're small, the people that show up are the people that really are going to be there fully in acceptance of the message of what they're supposed to do. And it's such a beautiful group. They're all in sync with one another. So this event that you're putting together, that you're hosting, is small enough that the people are coming, but also they're not just coming for themselves. They're also going to meet others on the path that is going to amplify their life, their business. They're igniting their Power Soul foundation, and they really be excited about, taking action, really. So this is amazing. I'm excited to be there because it's very, very, very unique. It's no longer the minutia of the business stuff that used to be in the old paradigm.
It's not a presentation and then we do another presentation. It's a highly transformative, interactive experience that you walk away from a changed person.
Oh, this is incredible. So I will put the link in the comments. I will do a post about it. You'll see me, continuing posting until that event, because I will be there. And if you're watching this, if you have that calling, take action right away. It's a very small event, so make sure that you sign up for for your room, and make sure you have that lined up in your life for this June 10 to the 13, right? So
yes. That
being said, what is the final thought that you like to share, even if it's just a word or a command? Something that you want to leave us with. It might not be anything at all. It can just be in your own presence. And also your website is chadburmeister.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's my personal site. The song that came to mind 20 minutes ago, and it was so in tune with what we were talking about, is by U2, Every Breaking Wave.
Yes.
And it's every breaking wave. And it's like we try to change the breaking wave. Guess what? The wave's going to continue to break. And so stop trying to push it or change it or keep it back. Like, let the wave go, right? And be on the wave and understand what your wave is and where can you be one of one, and then just go for it. It doesn't matter if you make, maybe you thought you needed to make $500,000 a year. I did, and I did that once, and it was like, yeah, okay, that's cool, but I'd rather make $80,000 a year and be extremely satisfied with the work I'm doing and impacting other people than make $1 million a year. Because when you're in your lane, things just happen. And so every breaking wave, right? Let the waves just, and when you listen to these songs, Need to Breathe does it, you know they are in this connection also with their divine creator, because the latest Need to Breathe especially, it's so in tune. It's like I can hear that, and I hear the between the shores they talk about, and I'm like, oh wow, that's God on both sides. And you just put your raft in the water and you let it take you. Same concept. Every breaking wave. Get on it, don't fight it.
Breaking wave, don't fix anything, don't fight it. Get on your wave. You are on the wave. You are the wave. You are the wave experiencing itself. You know, and it's orgasmic. This conversation is so powerful, Chad. I know you got a business to run, a family to go to. I'm a little selfish that I'm trying to to take more of your time.
Well, you know, when you follow what God tells you to do, sometimes you're like, I'm spending half my time doing these passion projects, and guess what? That's the wave I'm meant to be on. He also said, hey, by the way, your company that you worked for 10 years ago is going public. And he said, hey, and I'm not going to give you the money for 6 months. So I'm in a 3-month lockup on some stock. But it's like, Chad, keep doing what you're doing, even though it takes you away from your work. This is your work.
Wow. It takes you away from your work. This is your work. If that's not a message, Chad, wow.
Faith, man. It all comes down to faith. It's been written about 2,000 years ago. There's a lot of people who get it. You just have to be open to it. And it can be as simple as pray in the morning, follow what you're asked to do, pray at night, and that's it. Three things.
And you know what's so interesting, and I know we got to go, but something came through and I had to share it, right? Oh, okay. Okay. So it was written 2,000 years ago. If you look deeper and farther before that, before that, it was written, in fact, 6,000 years ago. Okay? And I'm not going to go so much in detail because has nothing to do with religion. Nothing. Those words and who he was from a place beyond that, 5,000-6,000 years ago, in the Himalayas, that this message was built upon. And I'm going to leave that because people have to have the faith on the discovery process pieces, who we are, that we are multidimensional being. Even though it's written in that book that it was 2,000 years ago, something unlocked us way before that.
Sure, right. Just because it was written at that place and time doesn't mean there were things that didn't happen before that. Yeah, totally.
And it's so beautiful. It's just a powerful message that keeps on going, that we need to live by. Really, it's a living momentum. It's like the pieces of the puzzle that it's already all together. We don't need to fix anything at all. There's nothing to fix. Like Chad said, ride the wave. Ride your wave. Find your wave. For that, if you're not sure what wave you're riding on, and you want answer, come and meet everyone June 13, 10, 13. Be with us. Be with those who can unlock those answers that's already within you. See, the magic is that they're not going to be able to teach you anything really from a headspace point of view because you already have the answer. All they're going to do, they are masters at pulling the things that are already within yourself that you don't yet admit about. So they're removing the excuse for you to walk in there and to embody who you were designed to be and wired to be and ordained to be all along. So this is why you need to be at that event and stop making excuses about the things that you can't do. And it's with love, it's really with love that we, right, that we invite all of you.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you won't be embarrassed or feel anything.
No.
It's the most amazing, you know, I'm a business person. I like to work out and, you know, and I'm not a soup. My brother-in-law is way more emotional than I am. And yet when you come into these events and you walk out, it's like coming out a butterfly on the other side. I mean, it's just transformational.
it's
So
incredible.
I hope to see everybody there. If it really hit you today, then you just, you know, find a way. Ask your employer to pay for it. Ask your mom or dad. Ask your brother. Like, if you don't have the money, just get there, because the money will come when you transform and you find the way, right? You just have to go. I mean,
and it's
just
so
do it.
affordable. It's ridiculous. I mean, literally, I was even shocked. I was
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah. Juju's like, wait, you're only charging $1,000? What are you talking about?
I don't even know. Like,
Aren't you staying at like a 5-star place? It's not about the cash flow for this business. It's all about transforming and seeing people, you know, come out of their shell.
Oh man, I can't wait. My brother,
I'm excited.
Chad, you're an incredible soul, brilliant, successful, mystical entrepreneur, and I am forever, ever grateful that we've met and we continue on the higher path to share our journey with each other. And wow, that's incredible. Thank you all for watching. We'll look forward to send you all of these links about the events and what's going on with Chad. Make sure that you follow Chad as well, and I will send you divine blessings and love. So much love, you guys, and don't forget to tune in to the Mystical Entrepreneur Tribe. That's the Facebook. Join us, and we'll see you on the next Rendezvous with Juju orgasmic conversation. Thank you for all these orgasms, Chads, today. Wow.
Good times, good times.
Thank you so much, and a bientôt, my friends. Thank you, Chad, so much for your time and presence. I always say the most important gift you can give someone is your own divine presence. That's the most important gift you can give someone, your own presence to the world.